Two parts. I don't know, it's gonna change. That's the one on the fourth of May. So.
No, not Emily's one more person. I can't.
Emily. Were you taking the?
Emily will not be at
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. The one I saw when they did when they were the Jesus program. Oh, you were there, yeah. Yeah, the guy, I just remember last week talking. So, what's the shoot? Like, I really enjoy it. I have been. I used to go. No, it's not fun.
It's kind of like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've never been in the processing. Are you guys all ready whenever we are?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I think we've got our quorum, so we might as well get started.
Hello, everyone.
How are we? Good. See, so to dive in here, let's start with minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And were there any adjustments that anyone saw that they needed to make? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve those.
I move that we approve the minutes.
A second. All right, and seconded. Perfect, and then staff reports.
Thank you. I just have a couple quick things. One, I just learned yesterday that the tonight's meeting. I believe this is tonight's meeting. No, okay, 22nd. It's 22nd Monday.
It's more the 7th.
It'll be Tuesday.
No, Monday. It is Monday. Okay. So on Monday night city commission meeting, there is a appointment on the table for the public art committee for Renee Kelly. So that's going to the commission on Monday for approval. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is just a quick update on the tunnel. We have not finalized the contract with Elise quite yet. We're just waiting on her insurance, which she expects to have today or tomorrow. It didn't come today, did it?
It did not.
Okay, but it's right around the corner. The Parks Department, unless they did it today, which I don't think they would have, but earlier this week they had planned to do it Wednesday. So I'm assuming based on the weather today, they didn't do it today, which is fine. They want to do it as close to Elise's start. So that is coming very soon. So the sign is done, I put out there. Oh, great. There's really nothing more going on with that, but just wanted to give you that update. And that's really all I have.
Awesome, that's great. I think the only thing is if that appointment is made, then we can maybe get our contact list updated. Because I think it's been a minute since we've done that. So, but yeah.
Oh, your contact, like the contact list for you guys?
Yeah, I was just kind of
Okay.
looking back through old ones that had something we didn't.
Okay, because the
anymore.
commission keeps that updated for our records. So
Perfect. I was just looking like the one I had was like so out of date, so I just wasn't sure. if that
right.
was something.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll put that on our notes to send you guys an updated list.
Awesome. Okay, thanks. And then yeah, I guess we'll talk about dumpsters here separately. So yeah, that's great. Thank you again. And then moving on to community collaboration application review and selection. Very excited.
Okay, so I will just tell you that we have one application. A little disheartening, but yeah, one. Look here. That's how we do. Oh, thank you. So would you take it from that? So I'm sorry, what I handed out was Chip Clausen was the one applicant. This is his application that I just handed out and his cover letter, and Emily is pulling up the actual picture of her product. And their alternative to you guys.
So that's on the Rodney Street side, facing side.
Yes,
And maybe we could all kind of just quickly, or, take as much time as we need to kind of go through this application. Have a discussion from there.
Bridget,
Yes.
were you able to correct that problem that I had with the font size in the various lines?
No, I have not looked at that, but I think the next time we do this, we'll use a fillable form.
Okay,
So
Yes.
those are kind of new to us and we haven't implemented them.
That
too many
happens when I'm
things yet.
doing them too. It's really, I haven't figured out how to fix it.
So everyone had a chance to fully go through it. Let's see, does anyone have any kind of questions off the bat? And if not, oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious. Not that it probably matters, but is it flush to the wall or is it filled out? Are the
it
images?
has 8 inches of relief and it will be approximately between a half and 1 inch, half an inch and 1 inch offset from the wall. There's a black line that's not very obvious on that scale, but that will be painted on the wall to have the 8 separate pieces have unity. I've installed that version twice and done that and makes it work, and I'll do it in this version too.
I think I've got a question here. So where it says the Myrtleloy along the side, is that included in
No,
this?
it's
Okay.
not part of this project. But when I talked to them about putting it on the building, that was one of their concerns, so that shows up at 24 inches wide.
Mhm.
And so that there will be room for them to do something there when they want to.
Yeah. I understand.
Okay,
Is that a specific molecule?
a specific, no, it's actually not a molecule.
Okay.
That's just a name, because of the connectedness that they appear to connect like molecules do. No, the form came first, and then as it developed, the name came along.
Who knows, maybe it's not yet discovered.
Right.
Yes, well, it's the Myrna molecules. Will you be showing my images that I presented for my background?
I can.
I don't know, does the committee want to see what I've done?
Sure. See. I know you've got Bloom on Black on the corner of Breckenridge and Rodney. Is that planning to stay there for the foreseeable future?
Well, it's on loan to Charlie.
Mm.
We moved it there 2 or 3 years ago for 1 year, but I have no plans to move it.
Sure.
I don't know, would it be appropriate for me to explain what this is? There is an image list that I submitted with it, or do you just want to look at them?
I think we'd love for you to kind of give a little bit of context here for us.
Okay, so that's a very recent piece that is 4 feet tall and approximately 36 inches wide. It's made to go outside. It's painted with latex paint in a fashion similar to what I will repaint the molecules. Okay, the molecules were made for showing in a museum, and then a friend suggested that they should go on the side of the B&B. Well, that didn't work, but Charlie Carson, who owns the B&B, and Tim Spire, who suggested and also is a major funder of this. This was what the site we came up with, and so the interior pieces will be covered with polyurea and then repainted. I have engineered brackets to hang it on the wall. And so this paint that I'm using there on that piece is a new line of paint from Benjamin Moore, and I got it raw hand, and it's fantastic. It's so thick that when it left the bottom shape of the brush. And so it works wonderful. And that's the next one was a detail. The colors will be similar to the colors that are in the painting that is on the adjacent wall, 90 degrees away. That was a request from Chris at the Myrna. This is a show that I had in Kalispell about a year ago. The main center, you don't need to go back, but the center part of it is a galaxy of the imagination. This was at the Holter about a year and a half ago, in October of 22. And Molecules was in that photo. These are each 32 inches long. They're 3D printed. And they weigh 8 ounces a piece, maybe a little bit more, but well under a pound. This is Catalonia, which is at my home. It was a 2-year project. I did the big concrete. It's fabric formed concrete covered with mosaic. I did the big concrete in 19 and I applied the mosaic 6,000 pieces. Don't believe me? You can come up and count them. And 300 pieces of glazed ceramic. That was a 2-year project. This is also at my home. This is part of the ode to Edward James. The columns are 10 feet tall. It's fabric formed concrete. And it has a total of 7 columns in it, I believe. Yeah. This was funded by the Public Art Committee in, I believe it was 2006. It's called None of the Above, All of the Above, and it's in Pioneer Park behind a library. This was my first public art project. This is the All Women Are Role Models at the Montana Women's Prison, 2005. It was a wonderful project for me. And the Loving Mother Arch is in Visitation, where the women visit with their children. The All Women Are Role Models Arch, which is upper right, is in front of the prison. And the Great Mother Arch is between Visitation and the chapel. And you can see 2 of the 3 of those arches from outside the prison in Billings. I think that might be it.
How much do each of those molecules weigh, like approximately?
Currently, they weigh about 25 pounds, but I'm estimating that with the polyurea, they'll go to 50. But what we engineered for is way beyond.
Sure.
Yes, Phil Bachenhofer with Staley Engineering we are working on the engineering. There's still a little bit more to do, but I got a grant from the Arts Council to fund half of the engineering, and they are pro bono the other half of the engineering. Would anybody like me to go over the budget? Do you have the budget? I'm happy to.
It's this kind of expense sheet, right?
Yeah, it's both expenses and income.
Sure.
And so one of the things that I realized that I did not put in there is, and fortunately I have a contingency, and I heard the earlier mention of insurance, which reminds me that is not in there. But the last time that I priced insurance, ironically, it was about $800. It may be more now. The worst case scenario comes out of my artist fees. And if you would like, before this goes before the council, I can give you a amended budget that includes insurance. I imagine they'll be asking about it.
Bridget, do you know if that would be necessary on something like this?
That is not something that the city would require in a project like this, because it's not just city contracted projects.
great.
The city's just making a donation.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we'll do it. So anyway, one other thing about the contingency. When I first put this budget together back in last summer, there was $2,000 in there, which is 10% of the project. As you can see, as things refined, it's diminished, which is why it's there. So I do have wiggle room in here. if something is not the correct pricing. That's really my problem, but I've taken that into account. I'm very pleased with with the income side. I have $10,000 cash in hand. I have another $1,000 guaranteed by Charlie Carson, who owns the B&B. I have applied to the MRNA for 1,000. Well, you can see the numbers. So basically, at this point, I'm 70% funded. 25 from the Public Art Committee and 5% from the MRNA. So I think my budget's very solid. I have history of doing public arts projects. And so I can clearly build this for this amount of money that I budgeted here.
Great, thank you, Jen.
Sure.
Does anyone have any other
Is
questions?
is it already built? Is this the one that was on display or are you gonna build it again?
No, this is the one, I'm going to cover this one. This is the one that was in the holder. And I'm going to cover it with polyurea so that it's weatherproof and repaint it. And the reason that I'm not creating another one, there's a couple of them, but the first one is that this was created on a 3-axis router at the Bray in 2021, 22. And I don't have access to the machine. I have a relationship with a company in Colorado who can do that and put the polyurea on. However, if I had a new set made, it would cost me $20,000 to have them do it. I don't have access to the machines. In addition to that, I created an incredible amount of waste in the process of milling it. And I don't want to do that again, because there's all this really fine fluff, and while I bagged it up and tried to control it, when it went in the garbage truck, some of that's out in the environment, and and I don't like that. The company in Colorado has a system where they can contain it and then send it back to the manufacturer. They don't use the same kind of foam I did. But in terms of the construction, it's the rigid insulation foam milled, attached to a wooden backing, and then that whole thing will be encapsulated. And then I'll paint it. I'll put the backing, the engineered brackets that Phil has recommended, which are quite expensive. I have $800 in brackets. I don't have them, but from a German company that Phil has worked with, and it's very comfortable. But does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Amanda, I have a question. So I see that most all of your funding has already been approved. But with the exception of this one, you just have the Myrna grant to artists. Do you know
Yes.
when they're making a decision on that? Do you know when they're making that decision?
They will make the decision by the 29th of April. Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but we're getting there.
And then one follow-up to that, so if you are granted these funds from the city, and you do not get the grants from the Myrna, would you still do the project?
Yes, because in these, now it's Charlie Carson, but in the earlier iterations of the budget, I had 3 possible donors, private donors for this. And I wasn't going to ask any of them until after I got through all these grants to see how much I would actually need to complete the project. But then conversation with Charlie made it was an appropriate time to ask him if he would support it in the tune of $1,000. If not, I have 2 other donors that I can go to, that $1,000 will not be a problem for them. I haven't asked them, but I have a relationship with both of them. Plus, I have some other possibilities if I needed it.
Thank you.
Will there be any kind of like signage that goes with this, kind of stating, you know, your name and the title of the
Yes,
event?
it's my intention. It's not in there, but yes, because one of the things that I have encountered occasionally is someplace I go and look at a piece of public art, and there's, doesn't say what it is and who it's by. So yeah, I'll probably have them water jet cut from a company in Spokane, which I've done before. I have done engraving, but that's not really very good. So, yeah, it'll be fairly small. I would guess 4 by 6, and it'll be brass.
Mhm. Does anyone have any other questions before we open it up for discussion?
Like to disclose to the committee that I have a personal relationship with Chip. I was the curator in the show at the Holter when this original piece went up. And I currently work at the Myrna Law. So I'm not sure if that abstains me from the vote or not, but I should disclose that on the record. So be who's rising. I should vote.
I don't think it's a conflict. It's not, it's a county-owned building.
One thought that comes to mind, if this is, you know, something that we were to help fund, is in that mock-up, I think if you could remove the Myrna Loy from the side, I think that would, or at least just, so I think that would kind of help the commission understand that that's not what we're trying.
Yeah, I can get you an image without that. It's Photoshop, so.
Sure. But yeah, I think that would just kind of help clear up maybe any questions that they might
Yeah,
have.
I'm happy to do that. Should I get that to you, Bridget? Okay, I'll email it to you, and, well, I'll ask the next question after you guys make a decision.
Yeah, hearing not many other thoughts on discussion. Is there any other kind of public comment that would like to be made?
Sure, Paige Myers from just snooping in from Helena Citizens Council. Do the colors signify anything, or, I mean, they're pretty.
No,
do
they're not.
Okay.
They don't have a particular significance. However, in the repainting, you can see it sort of at an obtuse angle. There's a painting by a Native American man, and Chris asked me to use colors that are in that painting as I paint these. And that won't be hard to do because there's a lot of color in that other painting, and so yeah, they won't be exact matches, but
It'll complement it.
yeah, it will be, yes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So the reason why I didn't want a copy of your application was I just wanted to see it from the viewpoint of just an average person walking down the street. And I think it's really cool. I personally love hexagons, and it's just a little curvy hexagon, and there's like no place to graffiti it, which is a huge issue for a public art committee. I mean, if they want to graffiti it, they're gonna graffiti the Myrna Loy, and if it's not graffitied right now, then I don't think they're gonna do
Well, it's also 13 feet off the ground,
it.
Also helps.
which
Yeah.
deals with graffiti pretty well.
It helps unless it's an extremely tall.
And is there room to like expand it if that ever was a discussion in the future?
This is the project as proposed. I doubt that there would ever be an expansion of it. I I don't think that would be happening for financial reasons, because in order to create one more molecule, before it's $2,500 per molecule to have this company create them. And then whatever I would get out of it. So I don't think so, and I think it's a complete design the way it is.
Okay, and it's just gonna stay up there for until the Myrna Loy is there?
Yeah, until somebody decides they don't want it on the wall anymore. It will not come off the wall, these brackets. As I mentioned, they're commercial brackets. They're made for timber beams inside of buildings. That's how they attach the beams. And then in addition to that, I will have some keepers to keep them from lifting or moving sideways because of wind shear and earthquake. And that's part of Staley Engineering, that there will be a earthquake and wind shear engineering letter. I've worked with them before for a large project at my home.
Right, and just one more question or comment. The plaque that you mentioned to name the artwork and the artist and possibly any symbolism behind it, is that accounted for in the budget you presented, or is that coming out of your own pocket?
It will come out of my let's see, miscellaneous. It's not terribly expensive. I don't know what it is now, but it was well under $100 the last time I did it, and so I have room in my budget to do that. And the other side of that, he said, is coming out of my pocket. Well, if my budget's off, it's coming out of my artist fees. And I'm pretty comfortable with the budget I have.
Right, that was all of my questions / comments. Besides, I think it's a great project.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
Can I make a comment as well? I love that there's the relief to it as opposed to just the flat picture, that we have a lot around that area, which is wonderful. I love living over there. But I really like the idea of they're gonna be off the wall and then each one has that relief. And that's gonna be
Yeah, in
really
this
cool.
photo, it doesn't show up, but all of that interior shapes come from relief.
Yeah.
The relief inside the piece itself is about 6 inches. Each of the pieces.
I think what's exciting about this is we've talked about wanting to, be more involved with kind of, or exploring more kind of sculptural work and, how we kind of foster some, some art that's not just 2D. And so I think this could be a really great opportunity for that. And I do appreciate all of the engineering work that goes into it. I know it's no small feat with public art projects like this.
Yeah, I've seen Chip's work around for a long time.
Mhm.
I know he can deliver.
I guess I do have one more question, sorry. Do you know, in the end, once it's installed, who owns this artwork? Is it the county because it's going on a county building? Are you gonna have an agreement with them, or is it the Myrna Loy? Be responsible
I
for
believe
that?
it would be the Myrna Loy, because they got permission. That was the first hurdle from the county to put it on there, and all the county wanted was the engineering letter. That's a good question, but I would assume that the Myrna owns it. I don't own it. I won't own it.
Right,
Yeah, I think in this instance, it would make the most sense that the Myrna Loy would own it. Say, if it were damaged, it would probably be in their best interest, since it's on their building to,
Or if they were to move buildings ever.
yeah.
They have
Yeah, you know, it's like the other public art that they have there from Richard Swanson. And from Robert Harrison, and there's another piece in there, can't think who it is. But anyway, you know, they own those pieces and the ownership, I believe, would be with the Myrna. And when, yeah, I can create a letter that in conjunction with the Myrna, that would be the ownership.
Any other thoughts, or we entertain any motions?
So we had no other applications for this. Is this a community collab? Are we gonna open it up for more? I'm just refresh my memory. Are there gonna be other rounds of applications coming later in the year?
If we were ever to explore this avenue again, I think it would have to be in a budget request. That would be in October, but then
An annual call.
annual
Annual
call,
call.
yeah. And then I think that way we would be able to plan ahead or use that application as a template for future projects to kind of be ahead of, that curve instead of kind of having it happen after the fact. If there were the right collaborators in the right project, I think using that application could be kind of a baseline for when we're making those recommendations for projects. So, but I think for the time being, this is our only project like this for the foreseeable future. But
You're coming on funding deadline, aren't you?
I believe these are funds that would need to be used by the end of June.
Correct, and if you're interested in probably what your options are right now, you have the option to decide to recommend the commission that they look at this and make their decision on the project. You have an opportunity to not do anything and just let the funds go back into your cash reserves for a future budget request. You have the option to not accept this one and put out another call for artist. Those are what I would suggest for the three things that I would not suggest it being a proper process to just see if more come in. We'd have to do something.
I agree. Thank you, Bridget. You're welcome.
Well, should we make a motion? Does somebody need to make a motion?
I do.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we fund the molecules on the Myrna by Chip Clausen. Where was our funding? For $5,000?
I would second that motion.
Point of order, is it recommendation for funding or recommendation to pass it to the city commission for funding?
Thank you. I believe it's right. Yeah, approving it to then move to the commission for them to approve the application. All right. Any other thoughts or public comment before we take a vote? All right. All in favor of recommending molecules on the Myrna as the community collaboration application for Helena Public Art Committee to be presented to the city commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll consider it recommended. Thank you, everyone. And
Thanks for
thank
coming.
you, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to say that I appreciate what the committee has done to create this collaborative community opportunity. And whether I was accepted or not, I think that your work is wonderful. I know it has been a challenge, but it's great. And that you have directed, to my understanding, about 20 $4,000 this year to public art. And I think that's wonderful. And I was sat on this committee some number of years ago when it was $3,000. And anyway, I'll just let it go. That I think you folks have done a wonderful job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chip.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for
bringing
I will work to get this on the agenda for an upcoming meeting, and I will inform everybody of when that will take place.
Do you have any idea of when that might be?
I don't right this moment. I will hope to find more information out when I can look at the committee's calendars
Okay.
of events, and also I need to find out from the city manager if he wants this on an admin meeting or a commission meeting, so I will let everybody know as soon as I can.
Well, I'll get you tomorrow a photograph without the Myrna Lion flag.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thanks, Chip.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Congratulations.
This- That means the project's fine.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Excited to see more things on Rodney Street too.
For sure.
Needing to happen.
I'm excited.
Yeah, exciting. I figured you'd go.
But you don't have to stick around, but you're welcome. to.
That's really
That was-
Stands on its own, it doesn't really need me.
So yeah, I'll try and get us. 6:11.
I'll just say thank you and I will leave. I don't really think that my input's necessary.
Fine. It says.
Quite honestly, this is why.
That's all.
And-
Yeah,
and
we
so-
just walk right up over to the gate.
Yes.
Real excited.
Good work, Chip.
Yeah, there you go.
Thanks to all of you. Thanks for your service on the committee.
Woohoo.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, dumpster mural project preparation. Are we, I guess we won't know until probably like a week before what the weather's gonna be like to shoot for that same first weekend in May. But from what I remember, we're just gonna really hope that it's that weekend, and then we could, if it's a monsoon, when the time comes.
Yeah.
Uh,
I am no longer about May 4th.
Me too. I was just gonna say, that's a busy weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, I think technically, really the volunteer help we need, so we would maybe need a small team on Friday and a small team on Sunday. And then perhaps maybe a couple of, one or two, if they just wanna be there just to like watch and take photos on Saturday, but I don't think there's any real work or volunteer work that needs to happen Saturday.
It's after 5 on Friday, is that right?
That's popped up the thought, yeah.
I can volunteer for that.
Yeah, yes, what? Yes, what?
I could help with it.
And okay, great.
That's
So we
the
have-
finding of the,
Yeah, so so maybe I'll kind of go through the game plan and we can kind of figure out what might be most helpful. So on Friday, Jeannie and her husband Zach are gonna use their air sprayer, paint sprayer to prime them, so that way it'll go faster. And the thought is, do you need our help to lay out like the tarps and things like for where the dumpsters go, or is that something you can maybe find enough hands around here to
So we can't put them out in the parking lot until
go
5.
5?
And we don't have a whole lot of staff here at that point. I'm not sure how much. Solid waste, they're just gonna drop it. It'd be nice to-
No, I'm good.
maybe,
I was thinking that it's not
Yeah,
Totally.
Okay.
I think so, just to place the pallets, and also I'm just curious when they actually go to like lower it down, if if we have to adjust or something, we might need several hands.
Yeah.
I mean, not like 10, but like at least probably 3 or 4 people here.
I think so. I think having three or four people for Friday and then 3 or 4 people for Sunday would be, really super, super ideal. But the thought is that they're gonna spray it, and we're gonna have kind of sheeting that we can kind of put down to protect the pavement, and then I'm gonna get a bunch of giant cardboard boxes from my husband's bike shop that we can kind of use to like hold up for overspray and things like that, just to kind of help if So that way, you know, it's like we can be a little bit kind of faster with it all and not worry about
Yeah, good idea.
damaging anything. But yeah, giant cardboard all the way.
Do we need like respirators or anything like that?
I don't think so. When we did or at least my friend did the dumpsters last time, it was just.
When you're
a guy, yeah.
Sounds good.
If it's slightly breezy, we'll have to fit it. Okay.
Are all four of them gonna be done that same weekend?
Yes.
Hopefully,
day
if
at a time.
so on the Friday night, we just go from one to the next to the next to the next.
Yeah, and so that is really, I think the help that would be needed is say holding up the cardboard, you know, because I think Jeannie's gonna be doing kind of like the heavy spraying, you know, and then just kind of assisting wherever else we can. And I think on Sunday, the thought was that if we have 3 or 4 of us with, you know, hand rollers, that's when we can go in and do the sealer ourselves. And that's the part that we would kind of do by hand ourselves.
And
It
that's
should also
Sunday.
go pretty darn fast, I would imagine.
Yeah.
That's Sunday evening as well.
Yes.
So
Which
what
maybe we
time
can
on
set a
this?
we could set like
Yeah,
a certain
let's do it.
time.
Yeah,
So but we have to have them moved out of there someday, right?
Or move
Oh,
Monday
they're all
morning
gonna
or
be
is it
in
move
one
Sunday
spot.
night?
Oh,
Okay, so maybe
Somebody has to
Sunday
go to
morning.
Sunday morning.
So that's what.
Or Saturday
Yeah.
night, if we were done.
Yeah, maybe we just say like first, or not first thing, but like earlier
Yeah,
on
let's do it
Sunday.
earlier.
So Friday, 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Just
but
kinda write
drive
minutes.
before they can be moved, I imagine.
Sunday morning.
And have we blocked, it's a 1-day painting window for the
Yeah.
artists, they get Saturday.
One day.
only.
Which
Because
maybe
we had at one point talked about
Well,
Saturday and part of
We did
Sunday.
say that
they get
they
Sunday
could
too.
possibly have some time first and Sunday to finish up
if they need.
if they need.
Do they have a time, like they're done by noon?
I don't think there's an exact time, and we haven't sent all the stuff to them yet, so we can definitely still state a time.
Sure.
So I mean, I'd be totally fine if they say either 10 or something, so it's like if they need, maybe they need a layer to dry or something, and
Oh, right.
you know, they need to come, I mean, it's an open parking lot, they can come back at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they can bring headlamps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work all night.
They could, yeah.
In case of emergency, is it possible to put the sealant on at their forever homes?
I think so.
But they can't really be moved wet. Like,
Yeah,
pretty much everything.
That's what I mean, because if we painted them and they have
Yeah.
to move.
Oh, I gotcha.
Forever, and then put the sealant on.
I see.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Okay.
That would give the artists more time to work. Because one day is, for some of those designs,
Yeah,
Unless they have
Kinda
them
tight.
pre-stenciled out. and they're like,
But they know the time of the thing.
Oh, yes, it was.
so when are they gonna move them on Sunday?
I'm sorry,
What time are they gonna move them on Sunday night?
I don't have that
Mm.
information, I don't know what time.
I'm just trying to
I
think
don't,
of how we
what I
maybe
don't know is if they have to especially call people in to do it on Sunday, cause I don't think that the truck drivers typically work Sundays.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure,
should push for later.
Just, yeah, wondering if we can even come up with like a guideline timeline and see if that works for them. But yeah, so wondering if we ask artists to like finish at 10 a.m. How much time does it need to dry? Like 2 hours? 2 to 4. 2 to
Or at
4.
least.
Yeah, say maybe 2 p.m. if they could move them, and then maybe whoever is willing to volunteer on Sunday, maybe we could go in teams and like literally go on location and just seal it once it's there.
I think that's the best way.
I think you're right too.
I
it's,
think that's a great idea.
so in
We
the,
don't have to rush things and
Mhm.
worry. Is the location, is it gonna be here in this parking lot?
it is, and I would tell you that because we'll be closing off the parking lot, you would, where do you guys park? I would actually say that you guys can park in the west lot. It's on the west side of the building. It says employees only, but I would park in there. Cause it's Friday afternoon. and it's the,
Yeah.
you need a room. Oh, yeah, or the angle parking on the west side, right on the west side of the building.
Yeah.
So in the call for artists, it actually, what it says is artists should be available to paint their dumpsters during a live painting event on May 4th or May 11th. Extra time may be allotted following Sunday morning.
Mm.
That's what it says. So,
Maybe.
Maybe.
So we could
By
probably
10 a.m.
cut it at 11 at the latest, I would bet. That's so true.
Yeah, I think maybe if they can, move downstairs by say 2 p.m. and then. Yeah, and then immediately after we could go and then just have teams. Yeah, exactly. And then go to the next one.
They're all pretty close to each other too.
I think we can get away with one coat on this.
And I think that's just if artist has to come back.
Sure.
Like, the other ones we could definitely do on site and then let them sit until they come take them away. And I can confirm with solid waste. I just, when I originally asked, I asked for them to take away Sunday. They may actually prefer to do it really early Monday morning.
I think we might
So
actually.
I'll double check on that. And send you guys
right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can put it.
Yeah, because they have to get to certain locations before a certain time.
Right.
Mhm.
Quite a few actually, so
Yeah, I think that would be the most, if they could,
yeah, that might work better.
because then that
also
would still
wondering
give us
about,
Sunday evening.
I guess what I was gonna have. It's like if the Civic Center has events that weekend or something like that, at the golf course. They still need their trash can while it's gone, so they might have a loaner in place. Yeah, so. The city county building doesn't, like this, there's nothing going on here on the weekends.
Yeah, true.
Although where are we gonna put our trash?
Around Rodney Street, someone came like right before the painting event started and dumped a bunch of trash in one of them.
We forgot what this is.
Doesn't say anything, yeah.
It's art now.
Yeah, and another guy came and painted smiley faces on my prime dumpsters, but here nor there. All right, my computer died, so. On off the old noggin.
Did we, I'm sorry, did you figure out who was Friday and who was?
No, so that's the
Okay,
next part we need
okay.
to kind of figure out, so.
On Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Are you?
Yeah,
I can probably do both too, Friday definitely.
and then what kind of photos did you want? Did you just want like fresh photos? Cause I can show up and do random photos during the day.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice to get some process shots, or just, of people working, And I do wonder too, I guess, I don't know if that's something in the if any of those people have signed a contract, like if we're allowed, they're okay with us, taking their photo and then using that like on our social media pages and things like that.
It's always standard in there.
Totally, okay.
Oh, I am a definite on Friday and then Sunday might have to be flexible. Then we're gonna start installing new theater seats on that Monday. And so I'm not sure if they're gonna pull me in to do any prep for that. But if I don't have to go to my day job, then I will definitely.
Because from the sounds of it, it sounds like we have at least 3 or 4 for Friday and Sunday, some of us both, and I think even if we have more, that means it's kind of like lightens the load for all of us a little bit, early or something like that. And so, yeah, maybe for Sunday for ceiling, should we say like they start at noon, or do we want to like wait till 5 once it's all, so we say like meet at Friday at 5 and meet Sunday at 5?
Say,
So we could do a little bit
Friday.
early.
give wiggle room, you
Mhm.
know, when you have an artist and they're almost done,
Oh, yeah,
they're almost there. And then we come with ceiling.
Yeah, we'll have an idea by Saturday night.
Yeah.
How
far
far along, yeah.
I mean, I think we can have
Chat, yeah.
totally have like a group chat
Yeah.
of kind of feel it out. And all those supplies and everything will be here ready to go and all that, so we could just be all hands on deck to help.
Awesome.
So clarification for me,
Yes,
is it the 4th or the 11th or?
the 4th, as long as the weather is
Snowy, no.
depending.
Is that snowy? Okay, 4th or
Yeah, very much preferred for it to be that, yeah, because the next, I think we all have lots going on. I'm
what
sure.
is that?
It's just Spring Art Walk and Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, I think Dolphins Museums in there.
Oh, yeah, what else can we?
Yeah.
Okay, great, and I think I have, everyone's contact info, so maybe as we get, closer, we can all just kind of, we'll kind of have the game plan and then see who's available when. But it sounds like we'll have enough people for both days and Saturday. And yeah, I'll be available Friday, Saturday, and Sunday too. Pop in and out. Yeah, is there anything else we need to keep in mind for that? Thank you again for offering up the air sprayer too. I think that was like super easy peasy on Friday night. Go pretty fast. Yeah, totally. Otherwise, yeah, I'm gonna have to go home and grab some more rollers. Which, so yeah, easy enough to do. All right, but yeah, I want to try and get this wrapped up here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. I think we can. Is there anything else for dumpster project before we move on?
Yes, who all would be here Saturday? Even, I mean, not, maybe not all day, but who was planning to be here on actor?
And we can.
You come by,
Can't be here the whole day. Yeah.
check it.
Oh, you know what might be nice too is I guess I can do it as soon as we're confirmed that it's happening that Saturday. I can make a graphic for like the Facebook page just to advertise that, painting's going on and people can walk by. So that's something as we get closer, I can just quickly whip up. Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. Okay. All right. Future jury selection considerations. Thank you for bringing this to the table, Helen. And so I think this is something that's good to kind of talk about of how we kind of move forward with future kind of juried projects. Because I think we were all on this board during going down the aisle.
Yeah, I watched the meeting on Zoom
Okay.
after this.
Yeah, that was kind of a fiasco, if you ask me. I feel like the city broke their own rule. I don't think they should have seen all of the options in the PowerPoint.
Oh, they saw everything?
They
That's
saw,
worse, like-
they saw the top 10 or something.
So I was instructed that they should see everything, but I focused on the top 7 that we actually like.
Yeah, because then they felt like they had a choice, which I think by the rules, maybe the law, they didn't have a choice. They get to approve or disapprove our recommendation rather than choose from the menu.
Right, because what was the what? Do we know which number we voted on for her piece? Do we remember, like, if
Yeah.
we?
I thought it was at the bottom because of her other tongue.
Well, we didn't know.
She was tied at 4th with.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just
we
wondering,
didn't know
was
the
like kind of up
names.
there, but I just.
We didn't know the names
Oh,
or
we
where
didn't
they
know
were
the
from.
names.
Yeah.
Like did this.
So then it was, they knew the name,
They knew the
they knew the
towns
person was
where
from,
everybody was from. Yeah,
they knew that the person was from California.
No, they
They know the mileage.
They knew that, yeah.
Kind of
They
knew
knew the
that.
names.
No, yeah, they talked about that in the admin.
Yeah.
They were
it's
from.
from
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Montana.
They did see all of them, right?
They
It's
did see all.
slides of every single one, yeah.
So I will make a little clarification there in that ultimately the city commission can decide on whatever they want. There's always, there can or cannot be a recommendation. The process that we use is that the public art committee can provide a recommendation. Staff can provide a recommendation. There's been instances where those have been different. An example is the bounty sculpture. That was a difference in opinion between the public art committee and staff as far as to where the location of it was. But yes, the city commission can make whatever decision they want, and they can request and see as much information as they want, blind or not blind. We do it blind more for your benefit so that there can not be saying that there's any favoritism or something like that. Clearly, as we discussed at that first meeting, everybody knew Elisa's design was Elisa's design because it was very recognizable. But yes, they're not breaking any laws. They can decide whatever they want to decide.
So what,
So in that sense, why wouldn't it come back to committee to let us continue with the second choice instead of them making that choice completely? Why couldn't they just say, hey, we don't like this choice, we'd like to send it back to committee, like and rejury it? with these other addendums in mind because they changed our entire process completely
So they didn't
without
necessarily,
informing us or having
Right.
input at all.
so they didn't necessarily change the process, and the process isn't changed at this moment
Well,
yet.
in the article, they were saying we'd like to prioritize
Are you talking about the news
Montana
article?
artists.
Are you talking about the news article or the actual meeting? The news article was not completely accurate to the meeting. Which is absolutely true, because we were like, that's not what happened, and that's not what happened. So if you want to 100% know exactly what I said, you can go back and watch the meeting. But the IR article is inaccurate. So there was discussion amongst the commission at the meeting. That's the part that you can listen to, but then there was also commissioners coming to the clerk expressing some concerns that then they bring back to staff, that we have to get more information to them. So they were provided with additional information in between. And then it's decided that they want to have another meeting and discuss with having that extra information. And from there, they make their decision. That was the process that was taken. They didn't say necessarily that we want to change the process and it has to be a local artist, but they wanted to have the information to know what was from a local artist, what was not from a local artist, how those ranked with what you guys juried. And they were shown at that time that only one of those was within that top 7. So I had to go back and explain the process we used. At this point, I have to still sit down with the clerk of commission, who is trying to gather information from the commission on going forward, what that local piece looks like. Is it every project? Is it just major projects? Is it, it's definitely, from what I've heard so far, it's not a only local artists can apply type thing. They don't want to necessarily be like that, but I think they want to maybe at least give a little bit of preferential consideration to a local artist. So maybe it's a few points when we judge or something like that, but there is nothing that's come formally yet. Just the idea that they would like to have consideration for local artists.
I guess if I could express like one concern, I don't know if that could be like relayed with it just being just a local artist. It's just knowing quickly how small that pool becomes, because there are so few, there's so many talented artists, but there's so few that are qualified to handle something of this like magnitude. Which maybe even if it were, rather than thinking of it so locally, if we thought about it like, within the state of Montana, I think that could maybe be something that could be,
So they wanted just like Helena, not even Montana.
No, and that was one of the very first questions I asked them was, or I had prepared for at the second meeting, was to ask them, but Emily Dean sort of answered it with her question, with her comment and question, and that was to define what they consider local. Is local Helena? Is local Montana? Is local mean maybe they're from Helena, but they don't live in Helena now? Or are they
anyone
from
from
are
California?
they from someplace else?
Not a-
Current Helena residents, so local needs to be defined.
Within city limits.
And for how
Right.
long?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
To
see your mail.
when you
it took
start
her
getting
X
into
amount of-
the splitting hairs, because we are one of 3 bodies in this town that has the kind of budget that can support bringing in stellar artwork from other places. Every single other opportunity in Helena for artists is strictly geared towards local artists. There are only 3 organizations, and we have made ourselves competitive that way with the size of budget that we have, which raises the level of art expectation for local artists, because then they now have to compete on a national scale, which is an amazing gift to give to local artists. Is to say, okay, our town is good enough that we can compete bigger, so you have to do better and we have to do better.
Right.
And we are one of 3 bodies that can do that. Every single opportunity in this town is for local artists. They have opportunities.
Yeah.
We're not taking away opportunities by hiring an artist from the state.
Right.
We're giving a gift of art experiences to this town.
So I would tell you guys this. First of all, regarding your comment about what is the proposed for the community for, biggest thing the community for is to come up with projects for the city to do. That's definitely your number one priority, and to promote art within the city. You guys are doing a great job of that, just like Chip just said. Once those projects are established by the commission and put down to us, then we have to do those. A recommendation is just that, it's a recommendation, and that's helping us as staff to do that project. We're most likely gonna do it either way because it's become a directive of the commission at that point. Something that you definitely do have the power to do is, and I've been on other committees for the city, thinking of the brain fart right now, the HCC, not the HCC, but the conservation, so the Helena Conservation Board, I was on that for about 2 years. And it's filled with a lot of attorneys, at least it was them. And they spend a lot of time writing letters of recommendation to the city commission. That is something that you can do, and it does have a lot of weight. So if I feel the passion about this subject, so what I would probably recommend to you all to do as a board is to put together a letter of recommendation on that process. And then we can get it to them. That does make huge jumps in. That's what they really like, is to hear that as a body, so not individually, not, Ramsey's just sending a letter to Commissioner Logan or something, but as their appointed board for this, you're giving them that recommendation of, as the subject matter experts in art, of some of the things that you just said, because they don't necessarily know those things. So I don't know if you guys want to consider that, but that is one thing I've learned with my time, is that that's the kind of thing that these committees and boards do, and you can do that. So that would be my recommendation to you. If you're passionate about what that process is, then you let them know, and that's how you do it. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. And if they are just gonna do this every time, why don't we just let them do the jury process? Because clearly they don't care about what the experts think.
I would not say that they don't do that they don't think that. They made the comments that based on blindly doing it and not having any directive to make consideration for local artists, and whether that becomes part of the process or not, that's what I'm talking about, that's the purpose of that recommendation. But they felt that based on what you did, you guys did have a great recommendation. They definitely didn't think that you don't. If they weren't concerned about that, I think that there's no reason that they wouldn't have gone with the recommendation of the committee.
I will say, I feel like the recommendation that they made, I think I think it was a smart choice. I think it was a safe choice. I think going through that process, the recommendation that we made, I think I was so blinded by, how much I liked it and how Helena I thought it was, that I assumed that, artist, and I think Paige, you even probably picked up on that in the fine print, and then the more I thought about it, then the public firebomb that, would have happened with hiring a California artist, as sad as that is. But we've just seen in that, how volatile the comment sections get. So I think it's a very safe, smart choice that I think it's hard for anyone to be mad at, and I think it's going to make a lot of people happy. I wish, yeah, there's a lot. I think there was a lot of learning lessons, I think, through that, whether, there's certain points that are awarded to like a Montana artist, or that we are going through those and are told if it's a Montana artist or not, if that's, something that needs to be factored in, if that's something that they really want factored in. Other thoughts are maybe if we, when we make a recommendation, we can come up with our, a written out rationale that kind of then goes with that. Maybe that could be helpful. But yeah, I would definitely like to avoid that situation ever happening again, because I know it's very disheartening for, you know, all of us who put the time and energy in.
Well, and also the artist was contacted and told that
Yeah.
he'd gotten the contract and then
Yeah.
went online after and.
Yeah, there's
So,
still
like,
a firestorm
Yeah,
on
like
Facebook.
there is still a
The
firestorm.
artist was not contacted until he received the contract. That did not happen.
Oh, he knew,
I contacted
Yeah.
him, but I let him know the process.
Right.
And what was going on.
but then he still like went online and talked about it. And so like,
Mhm.
and the other part is like, that is also the function of art. Like art is a disruptive entity and it lasts for 20 minutes and then it's over. And then people love their new mural. So like, I think that we can't operate under that sense of fear of like, oh, the purpose of what we're doing is doing what it's supposed to do. Like, we're not here to just offend people, certainly not. But it, like, we are here to like help people confront their location bias. Like, I think that's okay. to do.
It's a
What's that?
political answer
Yeah,
to
like,
a
we're trying to do
problem.
something more than that, like, we're trying to beautify our community.
Well, and listening to the admin, and I don't know who was talking, but listening to the admin meeting, there was something said about how the woman who did end up getting it wasn't being considered because she just did the other one. Right? So then they were like, well, why not? She's local. And then it kind of snowballs. So I don't, you know,
I mean, she certainly was considered though.
Yeah, she
Like,
was
she
for
was
it, yeah.
top four, yeah.
Spread the wealth, I think it was the words.
And I know that, I mean, in some of the other conversations, the commissioners that I had some discussions with the clerk as well, was they were very concerned about offending anybody from the Public Art Committee. In fact, I used your quote specifically about, can't remember exactly what it said now, but about, I think no matter what, they'll make a great decision, or something to that effect. I told them that because they were very concerned about upsetting any of you. And to the fact where one of the commissioners actually was trying to keep that mural there and then take Elisa's mural and actually put it somewhere different and do both. And we were actually kind of tracking that down a little bit in between there as well. How the funding would have worked, we weren't really sure. And that was part of it, but yeah. So it came down to, in fact, when we went to that meeting, we thought that might have been what was gonna be proposed. We weren't sure, but it didn't go that way. It was fine, but yeah, so it was a lot of, like I said, there was a lot of uncomfortableness and wanting to not upset anybody specifically. I think the person, of course, that's probably the most upset is the artist that didn't get it, especially since he thought that it was a shoo-in, even though, I mean, quite clear, I called him the second time after they pushed it off and actually gave him an opportunity to back out if he felt he needed to, because he had told me the first time that he had some work that he was trying to line out. And so when I called him the second time, I told him, I said, I'm not quite sure how this is gonna go. I don't want you to put off other work. So if you need to do that and withdraw from this, that would be okay. I just need to know. I would hate to have you holding up on this stuff. And he said that he'd rearranged all that so it wouldn't matter. So yeah, I was trying to make sure that everybody was, you know.
Another thought that kind of came to me is just thinking back to, you know, when we had kind of a resolution change with this committee, and wondering, had we had the mayor on this committee, you know, to provide that insight up front, how that could have, you know, played into it and saved a lot of time, like effort, you know, from a lot of people. And a lot of extra meetings, you know, for you
Yeah, you
guys.
heard some of the discussion and the reasons we ranked things the way we did.
So I wondered if we should look at developing some guidelines on who and how often a person or artist can apply for the grant, so that
Doesn't become.
if for example, if we have one artist from Helena,
Like, that's what we're gonna run
Yeah,
into,
yeah.
but the budget this size, there's only like 3 artists that can handle.
yeah, just
You know?
some kind of
I think that's smart.
I think
Well,
that was an choice, like,
And you know, like you just said, there's only so many artists that can handle it, but when we granted it to Elise the first time, she hadn't done a project
that's
that big.
true, yeah.
Right.
She was just willing to get out of her comfort zone,
Mhm.
and hopefully there's more people that will follow.
Absolutely,
and be glad.
absolutely.
You know, she maybe is inspirational to people. I mean, she's young. And
Well,
it
yeah,
was
I think she's.
Oh,
a
and
great
she's
choice.
yeah,
Like,
great
she's an
choice.
awesome artist and
Oh, yeah.
100%
Follow my
behind her
answer.
as a choice. I think that's
Right.
great.
Yeah.
I have no issue with that.
Yeah.
It's more process and
Absolutely.
transparency that I have an issue with, and not being like her. Yeah, I've said everything. It's not personal.
Anything else on that? Should we draft a letter? Should we make that a point of business?
I think it could, maybe even if we even just start with some general, points of what we want it to include, even if this takes us a little while, I think we've got time for the next
Yeah.
mural.
I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like I'd like them to have faith in our process, so that they don't feel like they have
To
to
do this
like
every time.
intervene, so that they, it would be best if they attended one of the jury sessions, so that they could have a higher degree of faith in our process a little bit, so that they can see how like fruitfully we flesh out ideas and talk about them, because I do think we do a really good job of that.
Mhm.
But if we can demonstrate that in some way and comfort them in terms of like we do have intimate knowledge of who's working here generally.
Yeah, I think if the next time we kind of go into this process, depending on, say, if we've got like a top 2 contenders, I think really kind of straining them through our kind of goals and really just, going kind of line for line, because one of those goals is like make opportunities for local and statewide artists, and so then
Absolutely.
that could be our kind of moment to kind of have space for that discussion. And kind of see that in kind of a bigger picture.
Yeah, I think there's some refining that we could do for sure.
So like, and I think, yeah, with everyone in these meetings, I think we learned so much, and especially with that one, so. Yeah, fun lessons learned. And thank you again for kind of bringing that to the table, so appreciate the kind of conversation with everyone. Yeah, we can find some steps forward. Let's see, for other announcements. I don't think there's really too much. Just spring art walk coming up, hopefully not at the same time as the dumpster painting event.
Have those dates been announced?
Yeah, it's the weekend after.
May
10th, yeah.
Didn't we want it to come?
We did until we realized that we're all very busy. And then we went, and then suddenly no one would be available to help. It's be me and Jeannie out there. But yeah, I think the only other thing I mentioned last time was that Summer Arts Festival is happening this summer, like as a bigger art walk. It's like a week. Yeah, like a whole week of events, and just to kind of keep that in anyone's mind, if we wanted to use that as an opportunity, like a promotion opportunity, as a chalk donation opportunity. We obviously don't need to make any decisions now. Because Ramsey, I know your schedule is probably more hectic than ever. But just wanting to gauge anyone's interest in doing something like that, or just to kind of just think about it, and we could talk about it more in depth at our next meeting and see if that's something. Because I think the registration for that runs through the 31st. If it was something where we wanted to do, a booth or an event, or just donating chalk, or just setting up at one of the downtown concerts or something like that. So, especially if at that point we've got a public art map done and printed, which I hopefully we will. So that would actually be something worth, promoting and sharing and standing around for, I think. And then as far as items for the next agenda, I believe that's what I've got is that public art map. So I've been working on it, and I hopefully will have something for a drafted for our next meeting for everyone to review and to see what edits we have. The thought is it would have like a walking tour of downtown and the Rodney Street area, and then everything else would just be kind of in a directory. But I've just been working on that in my free time, so I'll have something for you guys to see next month.
To include molecules of the Myrna.
Yeah,
too.
every time I think it's like there's, yeah, it's like a 7-point font, there's like so many projects, it's just like a good problem to have. And then I think also for our next meeting, I think we had talked about kind of coming up with a better plan for coming up with future projects, like some strategic planning. Maybe we could even just use the whole meat of that meeting for strategic planning. And then from there, if there are certain ideas that come out, maybe subcommittees can kind of work together on those as teams and then come back throughout the summer to kind of present and hash out ideas until we've really kind of got it solid, buttoned up, and then put in our big binder of projects that we want to recommend.
I'm gonna miss next meeting.
Sure. But if you have any ideas in the meantime,
Yeah.
feel free to shoot us.
So I
something or
did
shoot
see
me an
this
email.
one thing online where it's kind of like a mixture, but it's like a public art piece and it's a playground. And they installed them in like Wisconsin. I just saw it online and it was really, really cool. And then they had like ADA type of ones too. And so just, that's like, it would be like a big project, but I'm like, how cool would that be? If like, cause I know we have some parks in town, just be a cool thing to like have an art playground. That's all I said.
Yeah, and any info you find on that you want us to kind of take a look at.
I just have like a little list in my phone of notes, cause I know we talked about that last week and now I'm not gonna be here, so. I'll just keep taking notes.
Yeah, and there'll be more time to discuss too in June, but anything you want to share for that May meeting, I'd be happy to kind of bring to the group and then kind of
Be great.
Is there any public comment where we?
I have some.
Yes.
Regarding the last big conversation you had, that was like 10 minutes. I want to be clear that my comments do not reflect the Helena Citizens Council, but I am not disappointed with the decision that the City Commission made. I think the art is going to be great. It's going to be beautiful. People will love it. I am disappointed in the way that they came to that decision. I'm disappointed with the process. I think it is unprofessional and small-minded. I think it's unprofessional because these artists are applying and they think they have a fair shot, and they're not. They need to have that disclaimer on there that, hey, local artists are going to have a better shot. And I think there's nuance to that conversation. It's not a black and white, it's gray areas, and that's hard to have when it comes to public money. I also think it's small-minded because imagine if every other city did this. Imagine Chip wanting to do something in Missoula, and they said, no, you're not from Missoula. Imagine we want to do something in Wyoming and they said, no, we want somebody from Wyoming. Art is supposed to be art. It's supposed to be a reflection of the human experience, not politics. Because imagine if this person, and I did look him up, he had done some artwork before in Montana, and I thought, that's great. That'll make people happy. Enough. Because you're never going to make everyone happy. They're worried so much about a loud minority of people when most people in a year, they won't care. They're not going to remember this. They're going to walk down that tunnel and be like, oh, that's a nice little bike. Oh, I see what he did. I see that, like, that's so neat. And it could help people humanize other people from other places, because I think he was unfairly judged because of the state he was from. And it's disappointing and sad and just infuriating that he was judged because of where he was from. We wouldn't have done this to someone from Wyoming, from, say, New York or Illinois. It was because of the state he was from that he was denied. And even though the IR article might not have gotten it exactly right, I think the commission did prioritize a local artist. And if they want to do that, that's up to them, but it needs to be clear. They need to make it fair. And if they don't want to make it fair, then at least put the rules out there. And that is all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your insight. And we love having you here.
I move we adjourn.
Second. Okay, well, thank you guys. It was a great meeting.
Thank you. What was it? You guys can keep them or?
Oh, it's just, you can go.